Right away, the judge lays down the ground rules, and this is critical asterisk. An appeal is not a redo of the trial. You don't get to bring brand new evidence, retell the entire story, or emotionally relitigate everything from scratch. The appellate judge is only looking for legal errors made by the lower court. And honestly, that distinction is about to become a massive problem for Mr. Kessler.
Just a couple of clarifications as we go into this. These were a little different than your normal hearings. There's no evidence presented. This is based on the record that was brought before Judge Hayes below. I had an opportunity prior to this hearing. I reviewed that entire hearing, the video and audio from that hearing, so I'm familiar with what happened. And so what today is about is whether or not there was an error of law made by the judge there, or whether or not there's some other basis as to why that decision shouldn't stand. And Mr. Fraser, excuse me, you can be back here. You had not filed the appeal. You're the appellate here, so you're Mr. Keeler. So Robert Fraser, excuse me, backwards, is you went in a reverse order as to how we'll go today. So Mr. Keeler will be making his arguments, and then I'll hear from Ms. Fraser. And I have had a chance to review both of the briefs that you filed, so I'm familiar with those as well. So you don't need to reread those or restate those, but you can just tell me your arguments based on those, and we can go from there. So, Mr. Fraser, you are first.
Mr. Fraser, Mrs. Fraser.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Kessler. I'm reading the caption on Mr. Kessler. You are first.
Okay. Oh boy. I guess you probably read through all my stuff and looked at it. I don't know if you read those text messages and stuff between me and Dolly, about the sale. That I never wanted to finance this thing the way they did it. They're just horrible people to do what they did to me. I bought that building down there. I drove by that for, I've lived in this town for 35 years in Castle Rock, close to 35 years.
Sir, let me stop you for a second. We're not retrying the case from below. What I need to have you tell me is what mistakes may have been made by Judge Hayes when he heard this case.
I didn't get
or what legal arguments might have been made. So,
I didn't get a chance to present my evidence in front of Judge Hayes. I had my pen, but it wasn't turned in on time, so I didn't really have a chance to even present my evidence in front of him. They was said we could have used it, but he didn't really look at any of my evidence, the stuff I've got for you here. But evidently you have, and I'm just kind of just make a quick, go through it a little bit with you and kind of let you know what the truth was about this. She's got, I'm just trying to say, I'm just going to make it quick, the deal we had, they lied about everything in her. Even if you read all these letters, the first letter she says that, well, Fraser noticed this herself. And then the next letter she writes, she says that her, Iverson, who's my bookkeeper, and me, all three noticed it herself. They just write different things all the time. They'll say anything to make their story sound, legit, but it's a bunch of lies. And if you listened to the case earlier, like I said, you probably listened to me, heard what I said. She says that I drive by the building every day, flashing guns and all this and that. And I was just saying, that my church is like a block away from that building. Two of my brothers lived on the other side of the road. I have a contract business. I'm always doing bids, driving past that building. I drive past there every day religiously. Always have. That's just my route home. I drive by that building, and like I even said, I drove by that building for probably 2 years. When it was for sale, looking at it and thinking, man, I'd love to make an offer. Because that's my regular route home, driving by. She doesn't realize that, because now that she's in there, she sees me drive by and she thinks, oh, he's harassing me, just because I'm driving by the building, my normal route that I've done since I lived up there. That's her thing, is I'm harassing. But that's just a big lie. And the reason they're trying to make me out to be this horrible person and everything is because they know they did me dirty. You can look at that contract in the text here with Dolly. I never wanted to give Robin a loan. That's basically what I've done. I mean, this was my one chance at life, in this building, to buy this building. I had a great deal on it, and I brought Dolly in as a partner because I'd worked for her before, and she told me, she was into real estate, bro, and she has owned her own business, real estate, and she seemed like a pretty honest person. I have a ninth grade education. I didn't know anything about real estate, so I trusted her on it. I became partners with her. We were supposed to be partners in the business together, and right before the business, you can read the daily news thing there, which is totally different than the stories that she writes up to make herself look innocent and all this. Right before the business opened, at the very last minute, she told me she would not be partners unless somebody else managed the places. She visions me as the horriblest person in the world in her mind. I don't, and I don't know where she got that from. I think it's, maybe because she had different plans with the relationship between us and it didn't go the way she wanted. And the day that a week before we were supposed to open that bar, she hits me with, I will not unless somebody, well, I needed the money. She was supposed to pay the insurance, on the business. It was close to $3,000 a month or $1,000 a month. I don't know what it was, but that was her deal. She was going to pay the insurance, and I didn't have the money to pay that. And she was also going to put in like the money to buy the liquor to get the bar open. We needed like $4,700 was the minimum, which I have a letter of that we wrote her. She put in the $4,700, bought the liquor and whatever we needed, and then was paying the insurance, which she canceled probably, I don't know how far, and she ended up canceling the insurance, but I didn't even know that. I'd been working down there with no insurance for probably 2 years. And she wrote me these letters, if you read the letter, saying she wanted no part of the business, she was out of the business, take my name off the business. But yet, she could have done that all herself. She should have done that herself. And I figured the letter that she sent saying she was no part of the business was good enough. She was done of it. And that was 4 months after the bar opened. And the guy that she wanted to manage the bar was Tim Seedig. He's also in the Daily News story there, which she tells a whole different story in her letters that she wrote 2 different letters. It's always different. But Tim was the manager. In the first 4 months, he had me $10,000 in back taxes behind. He was falling asleep drunk at the bar. He wouldn't show up half the time. And honest to God, Your Honor, I'm telling the truth. I'll swear on a Bible on everything I hold near and dear that I'm telling the truth. And these people are lying. And, for me to go through that, I lost money. I put, every penny I had into that building to get that business going. And, I needed a partner. And at the last minute, Dolly, that's what she did. And she went on a trip around the world and put this Tim in charge. Well, he had me, like I said, and all the taxes behind. I finally kicked him out of there and took it over and got rid of both of them. But Dolly would stick around. She'd call my workers and tell my bartenders not to listen to me and to not do this and not do that. She was just doing horrible things like that. And just wanted to basically sabotage me so I'd end up selling the building. And she could, which is basically what she wanted to do. And if you read her text, she's in there. She wanted to sell it on a contract to Fraser. She did with this so she could avoid taxes and stuff. It even says it in her letters. She wanted to avoid paying capital gains taxes and this and that. And she could do the rental property management and this and that. And I mean, her texts are just over and over. And I'm like, I just wanted my money. I wanted to be out of this thing. Well, Fraser comes in the bar one day and she's hanging out in there, and she talked to one of my bartenders who said that it was probably for sale. Well, she came and started talking to me, and we got to be fairly good friends. She was coming in there quite regularly. She actually even worked for me. She bartended for about a week, and I have one of her even her deposit slips in there from the bank with her name on it. I swear to God, Robin worked for me for probably a week in there, but I brought her in there to let her introduce her to all the people when she was buying it, introduced her to all the townsfolk, and she bartended.
And there it is, the first warning from the bench. Notice how the judge keeps trying to steer him back to one simple question: what mistake did the lower court make? But instead, Kessler keeps drifting into a full emotional narrative about betrayal, business deals, and personal grievances. From a courtroom strategy perspective, this is dangerous territory. Judges need concise legal arguments, not a 20-minute vent session.
And then we were supposed to be good friends and everything. She was going to buy it. And all of a sudden, the deal was she was going to go to Ireland. And when she got back, she was just going to take over, And I was going to stock the bar with like $5,000 worth of liquor because the bar would be full. I had the reason she was going to write me the check for the bar when she got back for the booze. So it'd be a transition. I even bought the liquor license for her, which was $2,500 out of my, just so the bar could stay open and help her out to get going and stuff. She didn't even really know Dolly at this point. I don't believe, or maybe she did. I don't know if I introduced her to her yet then. But anyway, she gets back from Ireland. She must have met Dolly before then. She got back from Ireland, and all of a sudden, she'd been talking to Dolly. And I'm sure Dolly set up this plan and said, hey, let's do this. Rob's that. He owes me this. In her mind, I owe her money. When I had, I took that building down there, which was $40,000. I put probably 3 years of labor and probably, every penny I had, all my life savings, everything into that building to get it going. I converted the upstairs building into an apartment so I could rent it out for $1,200 a month.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to stop you again. You're going over the facts that you already went through in the record with Judge Hayes.
I didn't really, but yeah, I'm showing the proof of it too here because I didn't get a chance to show the proof along with the test.
This is not a time for new evidence. You need to tell me what mistakes were made based on what was presented previously.
It's really hot in here in this thing. I'm sorry, I'm kind of
okay. That's fine.
Phobia too, but I never did get a chance to show my evidence to him. I never did get to show any of this stuff. And like they were just lying, like Steve Mondar, one of her key witnesses, was one of my bartenders. He says that I was flashing guns in there. I carried guns in the bar all the time. I had just gobs of them. I was a gun freak in there. Well, right when you walk in the bar, there's a sign, no guns allowed. I mean, this is a small town. If I was doing that, Your Honor, the police department's a block away from there. They would have come in there and arrested me. Or somebody would have turned me in. I mean, this bar's a 49-seat bar. I wouldn't let anybody come in there with a bar. Where am I going to be carrying guns and flashing guns around in the bar like Steve says I was? The reason he said that is because I told Robin something about his hygiene. I said, he's a nice guy and everything. He's a bartender, but his fingernails are green underneath, and he's, if he work on his hygiene or something. She showed him that text, and I'm sure because about a week after, he said that I drove and I waved at him. Honest to God, when he said I flipped him off. Which I'd have no reason to do that and never did that and would never do that. I wasn't mad at him at the point. I mean, we were still friends as far as I thought, but I know she told him that, and that's why he turned on me. And then he goes and says this, that I'm flashing guns and taking guns in there. She also said that I put on Facebook, I will make dark what is light. I never said that. It's a biblical text. What has been in the dark will be brought to the light, and that's like coming to court. You're the light. I mean, it's like I'm bringing everything they did in the dark to the light. And that's what I thought I was doing, but it just seems like nobody believes me, and they just, some reason, want to take their sides. And, I mean, it's just obvious. There's nobody in their right mind that would have signed the contract. After suffering down, I was getting ripped off from my workers. I have another deal in there where my workers were going in, canceling sales at the end of the shifts, taking all the money out. I mean, I was getting screwed by everybody. I wasn't making nothing. I just wanted to sell this thing, get what I could back, so I could invest in my other business, buy some new equipment, which all my stuff was all broke down and worn. I wanted to help my niece out, her son's 7 years old with cancer. I wanted to help her. I wanted to, just retire and be away from these people and done with Dolly forever, never to see her again. Well, somehow she got in there and they made a promise note with my name. They never even recorded it or filed it. They kept it hidden between them. It's still not recorded, I don't believe. I had to buy my lawyer $5,000 to get them to come and bring that note up there to show what they've done. So they locked me into a 30-year contract at 4.5% interest when I just bought the building 5 years earlier for 6% interest and paid it off right away. Put all that money, remodeled it, put my life savings, and then I'm going to go and sign a 30-year contract at 4.5, so I get $750 a month for the rest of my life, and that's a hard one to take, and they know what they did to me, and that's a horrible person to do that, and I did everything for these. I brought Dolly in on this deal with nothing, and she came in with nothing, but then she walked out there, and now she's partners with Robin, and she can hide behind Robin because I can't really finish because I'm only half partner. She lies. She's got a restraining order on me as well. A week after the order, Dolly called me. A week after her restraining order, she called me, trying to keep this going. It's like they're trying to antagonize me, and it's like Dolly said. My dad was a cook for Parkins or something. If you read my dad's obituary, my
Let me
dad was,
stop you. Let me stop you 1 second. There's somebody making.
This is one of the most frustrating parts of self-representation. Kessler genuinely believes the missing evidence would completely change the outcome, but procedurally, appellate courts usually won't consider evidence that wasn't properly introduced in the original hearing. In legal terms, if it's not in the record, it basically doesn't exist on appeal. Brutal, but that's how the system works.
Talking and the other, if you could please not do that. I'm getting feedback.
it's Dolly.
Okay, so she needs to not be in there with you. This is you two arguing. So,
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
so go ahead, sir.
I mean, anybody with common sense knows nobody in their right mind would sign that. And they're to sit there and tell you, I'm not going to say, I know you're the smartest person in this room by far. And whatever you say goes. But I mean, who in their right mind would do a deal like this? To be locked with these guys for 30 years. And in the promise note, they didn't even put me down a beneficiary. So if I die, I would have put my niece in there. But if I die, there's no beneficiary for me. I don't know what happened. But Dolly, of course, put her daughter as a beneficiary. And, I've just been going through hell with this. Who would do something like that? I have to go to court for this. And then I tried to get my money back. I've never threatened them in any way. I've asked them nicely. Finally, I've had my lawyer reach out to them. Never threatened them in any way. I never had a gun the whole time I was in the bar. I have a couple guns now. But that was after I got my settlement. I bought a couple of guns. But I didn't even have a gun during the time I had the bar. I've never threatened them in any way. There's no saying that I'm threatening them. All I said was they've done some horrible things to me. I'm asking for my money. I was just trying to get the information. I've never threatened them in any way. To think that I'm driving by, they're daily flashing guns out like they're saying, there's cameras, there's video cameras. The Castle Police has video cameras the whole time. They would have a video of it. She would have a video of it if I'm flashing guns. I had one video that they used this thing, and the last judge threw it out. He said it was not, valid. It wasn't even, I spun a gun. My brother gave me this antique flintlock gun for my birthday, and I spun it on my finger, like a cowboy, spun it, and didn't say a word or not one word or nothing. And she used that and said that was a threat to her in some way. And even the last judge threw that out. Now, Dolly, they kind of team up together to use this restraining order as a team, two against. Well, Dolly's, like I said, the last one she won. The judge gave her a 1 year and 1,000 feet. I mean, he knew she was lying, as in my opinion. And he asked me if he was just getting tired because she keeps going back to this. Is the longest I've spent about telling you about the truth about the whole situation. But Dolly goes into this mad rambling, telling the story over and over, her side of it, her version of it, which is different each time, to try to make her look, innocent. But, even after Dolly, the judge asked me, he said, I'm getting tired of this. He said, I'm going to ask you one question, Rob. He said,
I need to have you focus on this case.
Yes, sir, I am. I'm just, one last thing. The judge told her, this is why he gave it to her. He said, did you harass her after she told you not to? And I said, yes. But I didn't get a chance to say, as if you read her text, she says, don't call me or I'll block you. Then she contacts me again. Then she says, don't talk to me or I'll block you. Then she contacts me again. Then she says, over and over. But I didn't get a chance to say that because I didn't have the evidence. But if he would have saw that, I believe he would have threw her case out as well. But then she calls me a week after that. And I don't know why she called me, because I immediately just blocked her. I called the Castle Rock police and told them, and that's what she should have done to me if she didn't want me to ever talk. She should have just left me blocked it. Okay, I'm getting back to the case. It's just been a bunch of lies. It's just a bunch of lies. I never harassed them in any way. I'm not a violent person. I would never threaten anybody. That would be the stupidest thing I could do, to go on Facebook or something, or even make a threat. That'd be a sure way to get me in trouble. I'm not stupid. I may be stupid. I'm stupid to ever get involved with these people, but I'm not stupid enough to do something like that or ever do anything. I just want to be able to move freely around my town, which, I have nightmares that sometimes I'll have dreams I'm in the bar for some reason. I don't know why I'm in there, but then, like, oh my God, I'm in here. I'm not supposed to be in here. Then there's Robin. It's like, I don't know why I keep having that weird dream. When I drive down, I have to drive like all the way around the building just to go, to my brother's or wherever I'm going, in that end of town, which I'm constantly, going through there. I'm not really anymore because I've lost my business over this, because Dolly was telling my bookkeeper, who was both my bookkeepers for that. I was a contractor in tree service for close to 35 years. Dolly was telling my bookkeeper at the same time and me, we're like, what's the deal in the building? She's telling, well, it's still a lease. It's still a lease. The reason she was telling us it's still a lease, because that was the only thing I had was that bill of sales, which was a lease with option to buy. And it was $1,500 a month. If she would have changed the payment, they made this private deal between them. It's supposed to be a payment of $1,588, which in her letters there, she was only paying $1,500. If you read my lawyer's letter, that's what the breach of contract. She was only paying. Who does that? Nobody in their right mind is going to make a private deal and then only pay $1,500 when you're supposed to pay $1,580. You know why they didn't pay the $80? Because my bookkeeper, David Iverson, is a very honest man. And he's a tactical mathematician. He would have said, "Well, what's this extra $88 for?" And he would, and then she would have said, "Well, it's not a lease. We sold it." The next year, she did this she lied to us all the way up to, I don't know, till like 3 years at least. I think it was 30 months. Then all of a sudden, the payment changed. And see, I don't even know. All I was getting was in the first court, Dolly says, "Well, he gets statements. He has all the paperwork I do. He has all the paperwork I do. He gets everything." Well, the next time we went to court, she says, "Well, his bank statement is his record. His bank, because that's all I get." Those two ran off with the deal, everything together, and all I get is this bank statement. And take it or leave it, it's like, this is what you get. $750 a month was, and I think the deal was supposed to be after 5 years. She was supposed to refinance.
Here, where the case quietly shifts. Up until now, Kessler has focused on proving he's not violent asterisk. But protection orders don't always require violence or explicit threats. Repeated unwanted contact alone can be enough. That's the legal trap he seems unable to escape. He's arguing intent while the court is focused on behavior. Huge difference.
The taxes for me anymore. He wrote me and I said, since these numbers don't match up, this and that, he goes, he refused work for me. So I can't even go back in and fix my taxes. And I have to go all the way back to fix these taxes, and there will be fines, and I'm afraid to even find out. So I think I'm just going to retire and just basically go with what they said now, because that it was well, I guess it's a sale now. I don't know. I don't have a bookkeeper anymore. I've been audited by my insurance company, but I can't, they want to look at my taxes. So they canceled me as well. So I can't, I couldn't even be in business if I wanted to. Oh, I've lost so much, and I think, just a warning would be great. If you could just, I promise to stay away from them. I don't want any contact with them. I haven't had any contact. It's only 2.5 years, so it's like 2 years left. So, I can't even, there's stores and stuff and business. I can't even, go through town without, because I can't be 100 feet. There's several other businesses that I'm afraid to even go in because I might be closer than 100 feet. And I don't know what else I'd appreciate if you just let me go.
All right, well, thank you. Let me hear from Ms. Frazier.
Hi, and I apologize. I thought I needed to bring a witness, Your Honor. So
No, this is just purely, it's a legal argument over the record below. So.
Yep. I filed my respondent's brief with you. I don't think there was. I think the district court met the legal standard for harassment, and the protection order was necessary. And with his behavior today too, I believe I still need it. I still. He sent pages with pictures of my social page to me in regards to this. I'm sure you got a copy of it. And the second page was an obituary, which I have all this stuff with Dolly has nothing to do with me. It's just I need to be protected from Mr. Kessler bothering my family, harassing me on social media via the, not my page because I haven't blocked, but via, I am the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce here in town. And he got on our Facebook there and was trying to badger me and contact me. So I just don't think there was a mistake, and it needs to stand. And I just appreciate if we could request this court, the district court made the right decision.
Okay.
I think I was pretty, I put everything in my brief is.
And I reviewed both briefs that were filed, so.
Yeah, and I just don't understand why does he want to be able to contact me? Why does he not want a protection order? That fears me, so I don't understand that.
Okay. All right, thank you. And Mr. Kessler, any response to her statements specifically, not the whole, we already went through, but anything she just said?
It sounds like she really doesn't have nothing, and she had Steve Mondor make some false statements. She had her husband, say like, well, he called me, and to her, that's harassment. I might have had 7, I might have sent 3 letters, maybe 2, 3 texts, called him a couple of times, over 7 years time. And to her, this is multiple drive-bys. This is, oh my God, he's the worst person. He's harassing me constantly. It's, he's this. He said, she sits in there and tells the customers at the bar that I'm this horrible person. I'm harassing. That's probably another reason I don't get any tree calls anymore in my business. I mean, I just, people are like, she's turned the whole town against me. People that used to be friends of mine that I would go in that knew me from the bar when I owned it, because I always treated everybody good. This word, they'll look at me and they'll just like look down at me like I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't even know what she's told them, but in their minds, I'm this. She sits in there and tells them this story that I'm doing these things. I'm not, and trying to make me look like a bad person so they don't feel bad for doing me dirty, is how I see it. Just have to make when someone's bad, they're bad. You don't have to sit there and make them and lie and turn things around, and twist things, and instead of like saying what was dark and was brought to the light. You wouldn't have to twist things around and turn stories around and to lie and make them look like a bad person if they're really a bad person. I mean, their actions would show it. Where's something saying I'm going to harm you for doing this to me, or what? All I'm saying is, all I try to do is ask for my money a few times. There's something like Dolly had, and they're using each other's texts. It's not like Dolly says I had thousands and thousands of texts. Yet she's got to use one of Robin's. She put 4 of them in there, and the one was something it was something I said, and it wasn't even really all that bad. It was, I don't know what it was, but it was something that she used of one of hers, and it was Dolly. When I first met her brother warned me. We was down there before the place was going to open. I'm going to say one last thing.
Sir, I want you to focus on what she said. This is your response to what she told me.
But Robin just said, yeah. She wants it to stay, and she thinks, that's what the judge did. He said going by guidelines or something, because he couldn't see my evidence. I didn't have a chance to show none of this stuff to him. He was going off of Mondor's statement saying I'm a gun flash and I had guns in the bars, and I was Yosemite Sam in there, and I was gobs of guns, and I was always flashing guns, and her husband, who said, well, he called us, and then her husband said, well, the phone rang. I knew it was him, but I didn't call. I just knew it was him, hearsay stuff. And then Dolly, who's now her partner, who's totally against me, and they're partners and ripping me on the building deal. She calls me, her restraining order, which is only here, she calls me a week after that, trying to keep going. And in the Dolly's text, Dolly's also telling me, after she tells me, well, Robin's worried your husband. Well, then Dolly said, well, you just take it over from now. You deal with it now. You take it. You do this, you do that. And she's basically telling me to contact Frazier. And that's what I did, was towards the end, I called her towards the end of the deal. It was like, she was supposed to refinance by 24 or 25 in 5 years. Right towards the end, that's when I started contacting her. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. You signed it, And I didn't know what she was talking about. And I was just trying to get some information. I wrote a few letters to her, nothing harassing or this is like, it's just there's no money involved in this. There's nothing. It just makes so I can't be I have to basically stay out of the town for another 2 years. And there's no threat. There's no threat with me. I'm not going to go near her anyways. I don't want.
Notice how brief Frazier's argument is compared to Kessler. Whether you agree with her or not, she's doing something courts usually respond well to, staying narrowly focused on the legal standard. She's not trying to relitigate the entire relationship drama. She's simply saying, the order met the requirements and I still feel unsafe. In appellate hearings, simplicity can be incredibly powerful.
I want to be as far away from these people as I can. I'm seriously thinking about moving, like I said, and I just don't want this on my record. My mom's 91 years old. She's worried sickless about this as well. I've never had anything problem like this in my life. I've never had anything. I'm not a kind of person that would do this. I'm not stupid enough to, I mean, I may be stupid, but not stupid enough to harass a woman or actually do anything. I mean, that's ludicrous. And I don't think there's any evidence that I actually did. It was just more or less their hearsay and them trying to make me out to be this person I'm not, with a bunch of false statements and no evidence of it. I don't see it's other than she put 3 people against one and they all, lied, as far as I'm concerned, and try to make me out somebody I'm not. And I want no desire to be she says, he wants to contact me. I'm not going to contact her. That would be the dumbest thing, because that would bring me right back here. If I contacted her one time in any way, you'd have me right back in here. Or she would. She'd call the cops so fast. So it's not that I want to contact her. I do not want to contact her in any way unless it's legal.
Okay, so you're getting beyond her response. So you just focus on what you said. I think you've answered that.
Thank you, sir. Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So in looking at this, under the rules for these, essentially I have to look at two things. I look at the record below and I listen to the entire trial. It's on video, so I listen to the whole thing. I looked at the evidence that was submitted to Judge Hayes. In reviewing the basis of his decision, I am mandated to essentially adopt his factual findings, so long as the record that was presented substantiates those, or maybe reasonably inferred to substantiate those. That's the standard I look at, or they have to look at. When I look at the testimony, and there's parts and pieces of it, and I think Judge Hayes commented in his ruling that this was a close case on a preponderance basis, which is essentially 51% over 49%. If I look at the evidence that seems to me fairly clear here, there was, at least at one point, and this would have been in May of 24, there's an email, an email in May of 24 saying, "Don't contact me." That was followed up, that was May 2nd, and then there was some additional contact in January of 2025, again, "Don't contact me." And then when I jumped down to January 14th of 2025, there's a final warning, "Do not contact me," from Ms. Fraser to you. These are just emails that were presented to the court there, which was followed with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 emails in 10 minutes from you to her. Taking that and then looking at the statute does not require a threat. It doesn't require violence. It doesn't require, I can tell you exactly what the statutory definition is. A single act of violence or a threat of violence can be a basis. That would be under the second section. And I don't know that he made this finding because he didn't articulate this specifically, but twirling of a gun in a video in and of itself could be interpreted as a threatening activity, particularly if there's some sort of disagreement going on. But I think more importantly, under this knowing and willful course of conduct, which is activities happening over time, that would cause a reasonable person to be upset, essentially, and causes that. And it's pretty clear based on my observation of the testimony of the original trial that Ms. Fraser, or excuse me, Ms. Fraser was upset over all this. That's pretty clear. And it's pretty clear to me that there's just an ongoing contact after you've been told several times, "Don't do this." And, Judge Hayes set this out very specifically, that you have some sort of case against Ms. Hoisington, who's not party to this case. She's a witness, but she's not a party to this order. You may have a legal case against Ms. Fraser. That's a separate issue than what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is whether or not you've been told, "Don't contact me," and you continue to do so, which is pretty clear that that's there. So, assuming that from the record that I have, I can't see an error in Judge Hayes's finding of fact in his analysis of the law that he has to find by a preponderance, which he clearly articulated the proper standard, clearly articulated the evidentiary rules. And I've not been, there's nothing been pointed out, and I didn't independently find any specific error of law that would substantiate an overturning of the order. In addition to that, I think when I look at the order, this is an unusual order in that he very specifically kind of way beyond what we normally put in these orders and specifically allowed legal action to be done through an attorney. It just sounds like you have that going. And that doesn't get you in trouble, obviously, for doing that. But contacting or being within that 1,000 feet, whatever that the limit is in the order, I don't see a legal basis for any to grant the appeal. So I am going to deny the appeal. I'm going to leave the order that's in place. And so you'll need to follow that. You can appeal this decision to the Court of Appeals if you choose to do so. There's a 30-day timeline. I will have an order that I will enter today, a written order, which would kick off that 30-day appellate timeline. You certainly have a right to appeal it if you want to. This would not be it would be an appeal, I believe, that the Court of Appeals would have to accept. You may want to get some legal advice on that, but there is a 30-day timeline on it. So that'll be my order, and if we have both of your emails in the system, I'll have my staff send a copy of that order out to you. I do have them here. Is it still?
I think so. I don't use much email. I'm not a computer.
Okay. Well, that's the email that you use apparently during the course of this. So I'll have my staff send a copy of today's order out to both of those emails so you have that without having to come into the courthouse. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Wish you both the best of luck in your endeavors. Have a good afternoon.
And there's the final ruling, appeal denied. The judge basically says the lower court followed the law correctly, the evidence supported the protection order, and there's no legal basis to overturn it. What makes this hearing fascinating is that both sides seem to be arguing completely different realities. Kessler believes this is about betrayal, money, and lies, while the court keeps narrowing everything down to one issue: repeated contact after being told to stop. Question for you guys, do you think the judge got this one right, or was Kessler doomed the moment he tried to argue emotion instead of law?